Hi, it's me, Andrzej. Some people say I have quite an interesting life. Interesting to do. There's a lot hidden behind it. But when you watch me on motorcycles in all these beautiful places, you usually miss that tiny yet dominant part. That means long hours on planes, in airports, while traveling, because I just have to get everywhere first. Now I decided to test another form for both you and me, because I have 3 big events in the next 2 weeks, plus some additional small ones that I'm organizing myself in Italy. And I had a choice, either fly back and forth, and in some cases literally just come home, repack, get up the next day and go to the airport again, or go on a road trip. Just like in the really old days. And honestly, I'm curious if I like it, but it's already too late. It's really way too late, because I'm about 30 hours behind schedule. And that's also an interesting topic how I approach this. Anyway, I jumped into my car. Right now I'm heading to Austria. This nice little activity, which might be quite a surprise for some of you. Then on to Bologna, tests and Bimota, then to Tuscany for a bit of pleasure. Then ECMA, a lot of work. And after that, something I'm not sure I'll be able to show you, or to what extent, because it's a bit of a secret project. But we'll see if you like these kinds of inserts. I've eaten so many doors still in my head, yeah. Alright, I can tell you now, this vlog is a bit chaotic because there's just a lot going on, both in general and in my life. And on this trip too, but I can tell you why I decided to go with the Peugeot simply because I wanted to take the bikes. Why do I ride bikes? That's why. There are many reasons. A lot of them are that I lost weight, that I developed muscles I didn't even know existed. Look, you're about to get a shot of my head from above. There are many compelling and significant reasons why I initially started cycling, but today what truly and profoundly matters. Look, I honestly can't even properly talk from the sheer rush of adrenaline that is coursing through my veins. What I realized today is that I've learned humility. You know, when it comes to motorcycles, I'm kind of in God mode, like I get on and I know that I can handle anything on the bike. I can't even hold the camera because my hand, and yet I still love it. For me, when I get on, I know exactly what I'm capable of. And to really push myself to the limit, I have to go really fast, right at the edge. And that's a bit dangerous. Bikes? Well, that's a bit of a different story. I just don't know how to ride bikes. I've been riding for 2 years now and I'm still learning. And at the beginning, I crashed quite a lot, took some hard hits, because it was also like, I was craving adrenaline, and that's how I dealt with stress. So, you know, I just went full throttle on those bikes. I had a lot of weird accidents that taught me, hey, Andrzej, you don't really know how to do this yet. What's cool about bikes is, you know, it's like this. You throw yourself into a new physical activity, because I'd gotten a bit sedentary, but still, it's something familiar, because it's wheels spinning, and in general, the physics it's the same with a few small differences. For example, you don't have a throttle, but otherwise it's the same. If you're hesitating about something, you just let go of the brakes and it's supposed to work. So it's an easy way to get some physical activity while still, staying in the two-wheeled vibe and having a pretty great time right away. But what I really learned today is humility. A lot of humility, because in these sections, Vern said this is one of the toughest trails. Yeah, in the Vienna area. And I made it through, but I made it through by getting off the bike multiple times and just saying, no, just no. I'm not going to pretend to be a hero. I'm not going to pretend that I can actually ride this. Maybe I could have done it, but maybe I would have ended up flying over the handlebars, because with a bike, it's actually much harder, contrary to what you might think, because cyclists say, when I say, hey, it's harder to hurt yourself on a bike, they say, what do you mean bikes are the most dangerous thing in the world? I say, no, it's easier to give yourself a minor injury on a bike, and it's more likely because you can fall more often, but then you end up in the bushes, trees, rocks, so you might get a bit banged up. But in my opinion, it's much harder to really seriously hurt yourself. Of course, there are all kinds of cases, but from what I've noticed, if you keep your wits about you, you can really have a great ride. And today, I learned that myself too. Andrzej, let it go, bring your bike next year, then you can come and try again or whenever, and give it another shot. And normally, I ride a regular analog bike. Yesterday, we were riding in the bike park, and my bike already went back to Poland because I didn't feel like hauling it around Europe. 2 bikes, and your air bike lent me 1. The knee bike, I don't have much experience with electric bikes, but honestly, I prefer descending on a regular bike, though I wouldn't be able to handle the climbs. If I don't live in the mountains, if I don't have the legs, if I'm not able to have the kind of fitness needed to ride up that hill, well then you don't stand a chance. You have to have an electric bike. Ideally, you can also rent one. For example, I rented this bike at Warbike. Thanks for that. And of course from Tusparn, so it kind of wraps things up thematically. But Wern, who's been riding bikes his whole life, racing downhill back in '93. That's why I ride with professionals, to teach myself how I should do it. Good, it's good now. He also just rides electric bikes now because you have to get up that mountain. You can't even see from here to ride down from it, but I'm pumped, mega. Yesterday, bike park at X-Trails. Had a blast with Philip, with Kakper, Mientko, and the guys. I also got to test out some different bikes. In general, whether you want it or not, I'm going to record an episode about it. Yeah, about bikes, about how I started riding bikes. Because I started with the 400 U-bike just to carry my son around. And actually, it's thanks to him that I started riding. It was like this, that he was already able to ride in TH in a child seat. So I thought, okay, I'll buy a bike with a child seat for 400W. I found a used one like that, and suddenly I saw the city from a different perspective. Totally turned out there were other paths, other places, and I fell in love with Etan. After that, it just took off. It's kind of a cascading effect. It's not exactly cheap, but compared to racing motorcycles, it's actually quite affordable. All right, then tomorrow I'm heading straight to Bologna, Italy. One of the few downsides of my trips is that I don't get much sleep. Yesterday I did about 800 kilometers straight to dinner. A delicious dinner, because they really know how to do dinner here. About 100 years old, the kind that look like nothing special. Wow. And they really know their hotels too. Let me show you what's going on. I was a bit worried about this. Look here, villa, is this a shed, a castle? What is it? I was a bit afraid of that armchair because I thought that when I woke up, someone would be sitting there. So, what about today? About driving. What kind of Italians used to come here to spend time, and I wonder what they did here. Really. So, a quick breakfast now, and then it's time for the Bimotas. And it's always the same. Coffee, 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 coffee. Suddenly, hurry, 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 because it might start raining. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Andrzej, get dressed. Quick, quick, quick. Get on the motorcycle that has 230 horsepower. Quick, 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 quick photos. Action, action, action. But I like it. It's different. It's interesting, you know. So we came down and now we're having another conversation about all sorts of topics. But now I asked to adjust the front. There was a bit too much air in the back. I almost lost the rear once on the entry. There's the carbon version, but the carbon just means it's not painted, they're all the same. There's a bit of work. Because you're already riding in jumps. All right, you have half an hour, so change the settings for me here. Because you want to have as much feel as possible. But now we have to go back there again, because there's another part of the training presentation, whatever you want to call it. We still need to record it here for the vlog, Insta story, and so on, and so on, and so on. Let's go. Quick bite to eat. And then the second session on this sweet ride. You know what's the best part? It is truly remarkable how this vehicle performs, offering a riding experience that far surpasses any initial visual impressions one might have. Despite its appearance, the ride quality is exceptionally smooth and responsive, providing a level of comfort and control that is genuinely surprising. However, there is one significant drawback that detracts from an otherwise stellar experience: the anti-lock braking system. This particular ABS, being a Kawasaki-specific implementation, unfortunately exhibits characteristics that can only be described as a subpar or even crappy, as it often intervenes in a manner that feels overly intrusive and less refined than what one would expect from a modern braking system. This issue, while notable, does not entirely overshadow the overall enjoyment of the ride. Because even with the occasional frustration caused by the braking system, the moment you engage the throttle and unleash its power, there is an undeniable and deeply satisfying sensation of acceleration. That powerful surge forward, the immediate response of the engine, consistently delivers a profound sense of relief and exhilaration as you reach the end of a spirited burst of speed, making the entire experience, despite its minor flaws, ultimately rewarding and incredibly enjoyable. There weren't many today because there were only 4 sessions. Usually there are 6. But it was enough for me because, you know, these are bikes that just want to be ridden. They truly, really very much want to be ridden. And the KB4, wow! It's like a toy, you know, Tessie. It's the kind of motorcycle you can actually be afraid of, and to have it just so you can be afraid of it. And you can have the KB4 just to stare at it for hours and try to understand it. But now, for example, I know that these are the air intakes for the cooling system, even though it looks kind of strange. But once you sit on it, from this perspective, it's a blast. A real blast. You know, you feel like you're in an old race car. And it's cold the way it is. But all of it, on YouTube and in the magazine, exactly in the magazine. On YouTube, you know, as usual, just some nonsense, and now what? And now it's time for filming, talking to the camera. That's how it looks. And just like that, 9 hours later, back to the hotel. All right, I spared you the footage of eating the cutlet. Honestly, I had a really good time with the people from Bimota because they're nuts, just absolute nuts. You'd think it would be, you know, a brand that's all stuck up with their noses in the air. But they're just these crazy engineers. One of them actually is the guy who created the new Tezzy. He did his master's thesis by making the first drawings of the first Tezzy, and then they took those drawings from his thesis and actually built the Tezzy. How funny is that? They're just total maniacs with amazing stories, so I just let myself enjoy the moment. And now, moving on, a bit of relaxation for a few days, and then back to work.